Michael on the interwebs everywhere. Where's my phone? Here it is. Okay. So, and to give my co-host a chance to come in from, his stuff, he is definitely Oscar Mike. Here we go. And this is coming up just fine. All right. It's Wednesday night. It's 8:00 because we have more. And some people say, well, less is more. Less is more. Travis, less is more. I disagree. As a Marine Corps veteran, less ammo was never more, right? As someone who's trying to get his little business thing going, less budget is never more. Less resources are never more. Less hard drive space is never, ever, ever more. So tonight, and he's coming in now, I'm going to get Mike Geary. Mikey.
Howdy, howdy.
We're just starting off. I'm going to say we are WAR. We are resilient with Michael Geary of Hellfish Haven, and I am Travis Parrington of Oscar Mike Radio. Michael, would you be a gentleman and a scholar and introduce our two guests for us, please?
Why, yes, I would. Well, I don't know how it's situated on the screen, but above me in this context, I've got Gina Marie, holistic support coach, and then over that way, I've got Nicole Bissonette, who's a founding member of Hellfish Haven, also a soldier in the Hellfish 1-3 squad that went over to Iraq together in 2009, 2010. It wasn't that long ago, but it was very long ago. And I feel people best introduce themselves, so either way.
So you flip a coin. Gina, you go first and introduce yourself and follow up with what Mikey said, please.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. I feel very grateful and blessed and honored. First, I would like to take a moment to thank all of you who, I get very emotional. I'm not military, but I'm very grateful for all of you who serve our country and have. It's very meaningful and a beautiful act that not everyone can do. And I'm very grateful for that and very blessed to be here to speak with all of you. So thank you for that. My name is Gina Marie. I am a holistic success coach. What does that even mean? It is, if you've ever heard of life coaching, that is what I do. But I help female entrepreneurs mostly, but I've also helped men as well. I help you with your mind, your body, and your soul, digging deep into subconscious, conscious blocks, releasing energetic blocks and trauma that's trapped in our body. And so that's how I help people. I really help people to release trauma, limiting beliefs, to live a happy, fulfilled, joyful, filled life.
I can say firsthand that, 15 minutes of chatting, we had, something that I was just blew my mind talking.
Yeah.
I can't, like it feels like a double XL night. Like, this is just bigger than big. So Nicole, now you did serve in the military, and Michael, and Gina. I'm like the noob here, ladies and gentlemen. Kind of give us a little, Cliff Notes version of yourself, if you would, please.
I'm Nicole. I served with Mike in Operation Iraqi Freedom from 2009 to 2010. He was my squad leader. From there, our paths kind of went different ways, and then we found ourselves. He had a mission to found Hellfish Haven, and I jumped at the chance to get on board and help him found Hellfish Haven and get that off the ground. I am so proud of you, Mike, for everything that you have continued to do, for being the voice to veterans, for being really pioneering to silence stigmas for mental health, because as we know from our era, there wasn't much mental health support, and we can change that. We can change it for the next generations. I'm currently Director of Operations for Cannamgt and House of Ambassadors by Cannamgt. They are, Cannamgt is a cannabis marketing, event management and marketing agency. We serve the cannabis industry, but we focus on business development. And so what we really do is we connect the cannabis industry to grow it in an impactful way through community impact, for standing behind causes that we really care about, which, you know, I'm a disabled veteran, so obviously our company pioneers for veterans in the veteran community. And as myself, with being a cannabis advocate, but being a cannabis veteran advocate, I can make sure that I'm pioneering for safe access to veterans and more research, and being a proven resource for cannabis can give you your life back. Plant medicine and holistic approaches, whether it's holistic life coaching or it's utilizing plant medicine in different ways, or different techniques that you can utilize, can actually be way more helpful than what, you know, medications and prescription, that is the old method for VA's treatment. So I'm really honored to be here tonight, and I'm really grateful to have been asked. So thank you so much, Mike, and thank you for hosting me tonight, Travis.
You're very welcome, and I'm sorry I keep having Jose interrupt. He just keeps slobbering all over me, which I love because it's his job to do, you know. So if you see him pop up and you see the camera move, he's just giving me some love. That's all.
He's like our sidekick, Mike.
Absolutely.
So Gina, if I could start with you,
Sure.
you know, this whole aspect of holistic, you know, coaching, healing, or whatever.
Mhm.
When I think like life coach, I think more of like, what comes to mind is like the Tony Robbins sitting up there telling you that you suck, and that you can be better if you spend $3.99 on his course and another $3.99 on his book set. That's what I think of when I think of life coaching. And then all of a sudden, it seems like since COVID, everybody's a coach.
Yeah.
Everybody's a coach. So what makes your type of coaching different than everybody else's? Because this is all like new to me.
Oh, I love that. That's a great question. And yeah, the Tony Robbins reference, I love it. He's a little kick-ass, and he's a little empowering. But yeah, so the way that I coach, and the way that there are a lot of coaches out there, and there's two things I'll say is that hallelujah, because everyone deserves to have a coach, right? A very well-skilled one that will help you to heal, have a different perspective, right? It's very similar to, if you're familiar with therapy, right? I am a psychology major, but we're also very different. We're not just going to past, like talk therapy, and just sitting there and digging a hole in the past. They're coaching, sometimes you go to the past to find out the root cause, but we're also talking about how we're healing the past to move forward. The way that my coaching is different than most coaches is that I encompass mind, body, and soul work. And what does that mean? Mind is the deep level subconscious programming that we have. Our subconscious is formed when we're in third trimester in utero, up until some studies say around 7 years old. So what that means is you are going around as a mini little recorder, recording everything that happens to you. And then it isn't so much about what happens, but what you make meaning of that about yourself in the world. So you create your subconscious at such a young age, and now you're living out your results from your subconscious right now, right? So I go into deep level subconscious healing through RTT hypnosis, which it actually helps PTSD as well. I do conscious work, reprogramming the mind to support you to have the success you're looking for. Also body work, releasing trauma, right? Because this is where I really got excited when I was talking to Mike, when he's talking about F the stigma. I have goosebumps, right? Because especially as men, women too, you're raised to rub it off, toughen up, suck it up, right? That you're not allowed to have emotions, that we have to push them down, We have to avoid them. We have to suppress them. And over time, what our nervous system isn't really addressing is that we are energetic beings. And the more that we suppress these emotions that are energy, you create energetic congestion in your body, and over time, dis-ease and eventually disease. And so I help clients through the mind, the body, and soul, releasing this energetic congestion, healing, trauma that is trapped in their body.
That's a wrap. Wow, Mike, you weren't kidding. You were not kidding. Mike was telling me about, some of the things that he got to experience through your coaching. We're going to come back to this. So the other side of this is this whole thing, Nicole, of plant-based healing. Because here's the thing. I mean, if I may, it always gets me because, I told you guys, I don't smoke marijuana. I've never done anything like this, but it always amazes me, the hate it seems like marijuana and hemp products get for healing. Like, that's bad. This naturally growing plant in your backyard is bad, evil.
Yeah.
Stamp it out. We got to get Fahrenheit 451 on this, right? We got to burn it. That's bad. But hey, we got oxycodone and Percocet. We'll give you some of those for your pain and suffering, get you hooked, and screw up your body forever. That's good.
Synthetic heroin,
Absolutely.
Why the mindset seems to be changing, but what's that community had to do to get that mindset to change, Nicole? Because for a while there, it was poo-pooed as just nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, it falls in line with, the same approach that we're taking with trying to silence stigmas associated with veterans, and mental health. For a long time, it wasn't accepted. It was something that we were told to, kind of grin and bear it, rub some dirt on it. And, it didn't happen. And then you kind of end up with it revolving in your body, and it comes out in different ways, like, Gina was talking about. And so for, us, I know for the cannabis industry, it's a very tight-knit community, just like the veteran community. I see a lot of synergy between the two, and which is why it's very easy for me to fall right in, because everybody has a purpose. Everybody is utilizing this plant in the industry as some sort of method to make their life better. Whether it's they're consuming it, whether it's they're selling it and they're providing for their family, whether, and if you take it for all those different approaches and you just look at it at the bottom line as we're all just trying to survive. And the saying that we have is everybody's got to eat. You know what I mean? Everybody's got to come together and everybody's got to better themselves or be part of something that's going to better the community. So how do we all spread the wealth? Well, we all work on advocacy work. We all are going to pioneer for the things that we're passionate about, but having a business plan or having a purpose and passion for something that you truly believe in is how we break stigmas, is how we are able to pioneer and make good of, past associations. So for us with the cannabis industry, for our company, we utilize community impact events, supporting moms in cannabis. To be honest with you, silencing stigmas associated with cannabis use and motherhood and or in the veteran community. We also do veterans in cannabis. And last year I put together a speaking panel so we could talk about the issues and experiences that veterans in the community are facing, but also how can we pioneer for better? How can we silence stigmas so that veterans can get safe access federally, so we can be able to pioneer for it to be federally legal, so there is not so much disconnect, so that maybe these communities can start utilizing plant medicine as something that can give you your life back. I'm a disabled veteran. I have functional neurological disorder. I was diagnosed with it about 2 years ago. I have periods of time where I can't talk, I can't walk, I can't brain process. My brain literally shuts all the way down to protect myself. And up until a year and a half ago, I was able to go through some major life changes that reduced stress. But at the same time, I started utilizing cannabis every day because I was like, it's just going to make, it makes me calmer. It helps with my headaches. It helps with my pain. So I'm just going to start keeping it in my system every day. And so up until that point, I hadn't had more than a few months where I was continuously healthy. And I would have these episodes where I couldn't walk, talk, or brain process for a week, 2 weeks at a time. And a year and a half ago, that stopped happening. A year and a half ago, cannabis and healing myself and making sure that I have access to therapies and I have access to mental health counseling and I have access to the things that keep me healthy gave me my life back. So I'm huge in silencing stigmas for things that can literally save our veterans community, that can save communities. This is, plant medicine. These are holistic approaches, but how do we pioneer for better? Well, we all just really have to do the work and we have to utilize our voices in the correct way. But it starts with believing that there is something and there's a bigger impact that we can all make, and spreading the wealth, making sure that, if I'm going to rise, someone else rises with me. That was a long answer. I'm sorry.
Well, no, it kind of leads me to I'm gonna like, go to Gina now, but, listening to this, talking about stigmas and breaking through those, Gina, Mike and I are both males. We both served in, different branches, but we both served, right? We have very similar transitions in some regards because, we're guys. But one of the groups that's kind of underrepresented is the female group that you serve. You serve women in your coaching practice, but also you're really getting into advocating for females. What's that like, trying to break through that stigma when you've got a woman who is, not sure of herself, trying to figure out the world, and a minority amongst minorities? How does that work for you?
Well, huge stigma. Like they're everywhere. It's the patriarchy, right? It's the don't have emotions in the workplace as leadership. So it's parallel to what you're talking about. It's huge what you were talking about, Nick, about, survival and hold on, the stigma around, you're saying about rub it off and, smiling through it, right? And because you're trained to not have emotions or you'll get killed on the field, right? And so suppress that and come back and there's no support. And so in the way that ties in with women, right? Women are perceived to be weak if they have emotions just as much as men, or they're crazy, or they're out there, or they're too much, right? So it's in your field, it's women in leadership, it's entrepreneurs. I recall when I was in corporate, I had to go in for a meeting that I got called into the office, and my brother worked for the same company. And he said to me, because he knows that when I'm passionate, I cry. And he said to me right before I went, he goes, "Gene, whatever you do, don't cry." And, he's not wrong or bad, because this is the way we are conditioned and programmed to believe when we were raised. And so that is the way we are living now. And like Nick said, it's time for someone to come up, speak up, and change these norms and make it not the norm. So yeah, it's a board with women too. But
to bounce off that, Gina, and being a female veteran and being the minority among, a male dominated, industry, it takes the women who have their voices to talk. It takes the women that have those experiences, and you guys pioneering for us to, I've said that word so many times today, I'm going to use a different word. It is, it takes for us to speak. It takes for, I have a very powerful story, and it takes me being able to speak my story and listening to Mike speak his story. One of the things that we were very, I kept saying to him, you need to tell your story. You need to be vulnerable. People need to know why you started Hellfish Haven. People need to hear your story and hear your voice, because that could be someone's survival guide. I saw that like a little meme like a long time ago, and it was like, your story could be someone's survival guide. And I was like, I am no longer staying quiet, because if I had if the past younger me had me now today, I could have saved myself from a lot that I had went through. So it takes us being able to use our voices, but it takes women with those experiences to be able to utilize their voices, but feel like we can use them. It takes you guys also as males to be able to make sure that everybody is heard. So you guys continuing to say, hey, we want some really great, powerful females on here. We want to make sure that we are hearing your stories. You guys are doing the work. You guys are doing the work.
Mike, you got anything to add to this? I mean, you know these women for quite well, and so I'd be interested in your perspective, brother.
Yeah, for me, like, it's been really amazing to see, like, when I first got to the company, and like I had Nicole in my squad, and like you see her, she's this little tiny, like, where'd she go, and it's like came up, and like we were in Iraq, we're like, we need somebody to be the motor sergeant for the squad, and somebody that's gonna be responsible to get these trucks down to the motor pool every week, make sure they get their everything cleaned up, everything fixed that needed to be fixed, and make sure that we're mission capable. And I assigned that role to B, and she literally took it and fucking ran to the moon with it. Like, she like make sure everybody was up. You guys are gonna meet me down here. We're gonna corral here, and then we're all gonna go over together, make sure everybody's there. She wasn't taking shit from people. She literally took that assignment and blew up with it. So like, for me, like, to see her like grow from like this the shy soldier into you know the motor sergeant, and getting everything done, and then to see the entrepreneur that she's become, like, has been just an awesome experience for me to see. And it does, it's very encouraging to see that success from female veteran, because they are such a small percentage, and like, females are half of the population, but when you look at the platoon, like, we had 4 females in a 52-person platoon, so it's really underrepresented. And a lot of times, the way that people will describe the females in the service is god awful.
You know, I described them as one of my descriptions, Mike. I'll tell you, I described them as never-ending sources of entertainment, because it was like having sisters that you could, get to do all kinds of crazy stuff. And a lot of times they would like, oh yeah, I'll go change that 5-ton tire. Great, yeah, go tell the sergeant you got to get the jack to change the 5-ton tire. I didn't need to do that. What are you doing that for? It was a great, but also, I mean, talk about ride or die. Sometimes it's the women who will ride or die with you all the way to the hospital, holding your hand when I'm getting a shot, and I don't want to get the shot, and you're getting the shot anyway because I'm telling you to. It's that kind of stuff. So good stuff. Oh, I hate shots.
We gotta take on that motherly role.
Sometimes.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on, guys, do what you gotta do.
And she's got to sit there and tell me how many times I say like during a mission brief. And all of a sudden, I'm done with my mission brief, and she's like, Sergeant Fury, you said like 52 times?
She
No,
counted.
that was like the entire squad was counting. It would be like every mission brief, the entire squad was counting. We'd be like, all right, 52, 53, in one mission brief.
So Gina, I'm sitting here and I'm looking at your website, and I had the website link, ladies and gentlemen, in the chat. So check her out. What happens because for someone to come to you and say, hey, I need help, they've got to realize there's a problem. So that's a huge step in and of itself. But when you meet somebody for the first time who's made that mental connection, what's going through your mind? How do you assess what's needed? How's that work?
It's a really good question. So what it is an intake form. I really sit down with somebody on a call for a 60-minute session. They fill out an intake beforehand, a really deep dive intake to what's going on, because here's the thing, is that it's always not the story that they're presenting of what's going on. It's the story behind the story of what's really going on. Yeah. Yeah. So I dig deep.
So you sniff it out real quick.
Sniff it out. I'm a digger. I like to dig.
Oh man. Ooh.
Yeah.
Woo. I don't know, Gina. Mike, what was that like having her dig inside your mind?
So we're doing like a 15-minute session that was recorded, and it turned into an hour conversation. Like,
What?
Yeah.
and like it turned into like, all right, the part, we're done with this part, and just like turn into like, you hit on this, let's talk about that for a second. This reminds me of this, let's talk about this. And then like when we're talking about how people describe like their PTSD, like that's really what what blew my mind. And like, if you want to explain that to everybody.
You want to go there?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. So who here has PTSD? You two. Okay, both of you, Nick and Mike. All right, ready? Nick, so when you describe it, how do you describe it when you say it, when you have it, or when it shows up or whatever? What do you say? Do you say I have PTSD?
No.
What do you say?
Like, what do you mean?
Do you
when I have symptoms of it?
Let's say that again.
Like when I have symptoms?
Yes, and you're talking about it, and you're talking to your best friend or whatever, and you're like, oh, my PTSD, like I had PTSD symptoms or whatever. Is that how you explain it?
No.
My PTSD. What do you say then?
I'm having some big emotions right now.
Okay, all right. That's totally fine. I'm gonna put your hand on your heart, and I'm gonna let you be in that moment. Okay, I'm not gonna push you. Okay, never, ever will I ever push a client. I invite them, never push them. So thank you for being honest with me, and it is so beautiful. I'm gonna reiterate something you said, is that you being vulnerable and Mike being vulnerable and Travis is what allows other people to do that and show up in that space.
Yeah.
And so, Mike, are you available for us to relive what we did?
Yep.
Okay. So Mike and I were talking, and as we were talking, he said, oh, my PTSD, and whatever else he said, right? And a light bulb goes off in my head, because I'm going to show you the power of your words, how they are physically affecting your body. And as soon as he said that, our words are everything, right? You've probably all seen these cute little memes that say words are everything. Words create our external reality, right? But it's not a cute little meme. It's actually science. And so as soon as he said that, a trigger went off. Yes.
So you're blowing my mind right now.
Yeah, we
Gina,
haven't even gotten there yet, Travis. Go ahead.
But I grew up in the era of sticks and stones can break your bones, but nasty words will never hurt me. And you're like blowing that all up,
yeah.
whoa.
Thank you for that, because I'm going to use that in my social media. Thank you. Beautiful. Because it is, right? And so this is so mind blowing. So Mike's talking, and I'm sitting here like this. I'm like, oh wait, Mike, say that again. And then I asked him, are you available for me to share something with you? He was. Beautiful. Because I'm never going to push on you and coach you if you're not available for it. So Mike's available for it. So go ahead, Mike. Say my PTSD.
Like when I was talking to her, I said, every now and again, my PTSD, will cause me not to be able to, go somewhere, or, it'll lock me into isolation, and I'll be stuck in my own mind because my PTSD affects me that way.
Yep. Now watch. Just say my PTSD.
My PTSD.
And what happens in your body when you say my PTSD? What do you think? What do you feel? What do you experience in your body?
Like the tightness of just when my head starts to get a little fog, and the back of my neck just gets really stiff, and I'm rocking back and forth, as you see,
Right. Now makes complete sense. And so I'm holding space for you, sending you love. Now I invite you to say the PTSD.
So
say the PTSD.
The PTSD.
What happens in your body when you say the PTSD? What happens in your body? What do you think? What do you feel? What happens for you?
I don't have an association with it to me. It's, you know, it takes the thought of it and, puts it exterior instead of interior.
Yeah.
So they no longer own the PTSD.
Right.
They have cut that off.
Right. And so what I want to say, goosebumps, right? Because this goes for depression, anxiety, overwhelm. This is not to downplay that you experience those symptoms. They are real. I am not joking. I am not playing with that. But if you read anything about your self-image or identity, as long as you own it as yours, it will always be yours. Do you want to have PTSD and anxiety and experience that forever? Absolutely not. So just practicing using the anxiety showed up today. I experienced the anxiety symptoms. Now it takes it away from you. It puts it over here. It is not you. But before that is all about really, sometimes we can't really just jump right into that, right? Because you're like, it's bullshit. I experience it, right? But you have to interrupt when something happens. Because when something happens, right, and you have PTSD, Mike and I were talking about this, what happens? You automatically go into fight or flight, right? And what is fight or flight? Fight or flight is telling you, shit, I'm getting shot at and I'm going to die. And so I have to go into fight or flight because I have to save myself, right? Makes complete sense. That's safe danger, right? But fear shows up and creates this overwhelming feeling in your body like you're going to die. So you can't go into telling yourself the PTSD or the anxiety when you're in a fight or flight state. So it's all about putting your hand on your heart or just sitting there and breathing, a very easy breathing technique of breathing in 4 slowly, holding it at the top for 4 and letting it go for 4 and bringing safety into your system and being like, oh, the PTSD showed up. Make sense?
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah. Before you move on, Travis, if it's okay.
Yeah.
I know that listeners are not everybody can see, but can I show you the science and walk everyone through exactly what I just described about the PTSD?
Absolutely.
Okay, beautiful. All right. I invite whoever is live and can see us stand up, or whoever is listening is open to it, to go ahead and stand up. And what I want you to do is I want you to just put your feet solid to the ground. And your bottom part is not going to move. And what you're going to do is you're going to put your finger out in front of you, and your top half, your torso at the top, is going to turn and rotate all the way as far as you can go. And what you're going to do is you're going to mark with your eyeball on the wall how far your finger went. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Okay. And so what you're going to do is you're going to come back. So you're going to come back, you're going to turn your finger, go as far as you can go, and mark it with your eyeball on the wall how far you went. I want you to see and mark that, know exactly where that spot is. Once you do that, come back. And then what you're going to do is you're going to put your finger in front of you, and you're going to look at your finger, and you're going to tell your finger, go further, push harder, go further. I know you can do it. Push it, go further, and then go all the way around and see what happens and see where your finger goes.
Get.
And then come back. And what happens, Mike? What happened?
You push through, like, instead of being at a point where, your body, like, felt comfortable, like, you physically, you're mentally changing your body's ability to go.
By the way you speak to your finger, your body goes further. So that works both ways. Whether you're talking empowering to yourself, you're going to go further. Or if you're disempowering and beating yourself up and shaming yourself for any issues that you're working with the stigmas, you're going to physically affect your body. That's the science.
I think I've done this. I'll talk to you offline because I don't want to, but different situation, but I think I've done this. So you're not full of it. And it's just, well, it's when we converse, you understand what I'm talking about, but it's just is the mind that powerful? Because I just watched Mike go like 2 feet past where he initially went. Is the mind that powerful?
Is it? Are you asking
Yeah.
me?
Yeah, I'm asking you. Yeah, I'm asking. It seems like
It is the most. It is the most important tool we have, but we're not raised and taught that it's a tool that we can use. We allow thoughts that come in and believe those thoughts. We don't challenge them. We just believe. We tell ourselves those are truth. We don't believe a thought we think in the world that I teach and coach in. You don't have to believe a thought you think, because I guarantee you 99.999% of the thoughts you think aren't even true, but they're affecting you.
You know, Nicole, as Gina's talking about this, I'm thinking about what you do with cannabis advocacy. And, you know, I was with a group of veterans for a while, you know, and this guy brought literally a duffel bag full of pharmaceutical products, to the point where he had pills to take to counteract the effects of other pills. And it was extremely challenging working with him, but I'm like, you know, man, I feel for this dude, because he's trying to change his life and we're trying to get him the help he needs, right? And this was back in like 20, I don't know, 15, 16. He started using cannabis, you know, way before it was now. And the VA was very like, ooh.
Yeah, they mark you as drug seeking, and they mark you as,
He
you know,
was in a
someone that
special
abuses
program.
medications.
It was done with, they were doing a test and they were going to see how it works. Long story short, 6 months later, I seem like, dude, you look like a changed man, Nicole, a changed man. And he opens up his bag and he pulls out this thing. It's like, this is what I take every day, once in the morning, once at night. He's like, I started getting off all these meds and I'm enjoying life again. So, kind of like Gina does this whole mental spiritual aspect. What's it like watching somebody who's living in pain? And Michael, tell you, I'm very familiar with that aspect of living, to start having joy living again. What's that like to watch that?
I mean, I can talk from experience,
Sure.
as far as, I wasn't actively able to even raise my children. I wasn't able to even live my life. I couldn't I had to shut a company that I had owned and operated for 4 years because my brain literally shut down. And cannabis, we learned real early on that I talked like I had a stroke in the beginning and they couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. I was getting misdiagnosed, and I had like hobbled myself up to the bathroom. I couldn't walk. I had to use a cane, and I was at my parents' house so my parents could, help me with my children. And I took some, smoking off my vape, in my parents' bathroom, just so no one knew. And then, I was able to come back down the stairs and my mom said something to me and I spoke without sounding like I had a stroke. I spoke. My mom was like, "What did you do? You just talked. You just talked." And I was like, "I smoked some cannabis." And she's like, "Oh my God, just keep doing it. It's okay. Don't worry about it. It's okay." And it went to the point where I was like, my parents were going to the dispensary for me so I could get cannabis because it was medication for me. My children know it as mommy's medicine because it literally gave me my life back. But to be able to have my life back and to be able to raise my children, operate a company full time and build it and help to build a second company, all while having a team underneath me when I couldn't even raise my children. But I'm doing it as a single mom. I'm working 40, 60 hours a week, doing something I absolutely love doing. I am raising my children and having so much more life with them. I'm happy, I'm healthy, and to be able to be here and to know it's because not only did I start utilizing plant medicine and realize that I needed to go in a more holistic path because I feel the side effects from medication so deeply, that they actually do the opposite for me. So plant medicine was my only option, but also I had to own my truth. I had to own that I had functional neurological disorder and that my brain was never going to be the same. I had to own that I have PTSD. I have anxiety. I have functional neurological disorder where I had to learn how to work with my brain. I had to say, I had to go through occupational therapies and realize how to refocus my brain so it could work. Because my normal state without cannabis is I can't speak, I can't walk, I can't put a sentence together. Cannabis gave me my life back, but also it gave me a life worth living. It gave me my children their mother back. It gave me able to have a purpose by having a career that I truly, absolutely, and I am exactly where I'm supposed to be in my life.
Okay.
And that is because that I was able to open up for plant medicine to be in my life. But I was also able to, like Gina said, like, you have to change the conversation in your brain.
So
my father always used to say, like, it is not how you deal with situations defines who you are. And that is very true. Because if I was ever able, for everything that I've been through over the last few years or even the last 10 years or my whole entire life, everything that I've gone through, I said, I'm going to come out healthier and stronger from this because I deserve that. My children deserve that. But at the same time, how can I show my children that that is what you do? If something happens to you, you don't give up. You have to continue to move on, but there's a lesson that needs to be learned. So how can we do better for ourselves, for our each other? But how do we own our truth? How do we own what we have, but also don't let it be our whole identity? We are not PTSD. We are not that. And so, yes, I have a hard time because I don't really own those things, and I'm working on that. But I'm too busy living life right now to be in a place where I feel like I need to have it like labeled on my head. I want to be able to live my life and pioneer for those things, but also be open to any methods that are going to work.
So question. No, great. So question for both of you. This mental construct we have around cannabis and the power of our words goes back to something you both have kind of alluded to, which is programming. And if we're being programmed in that 0 to 7 year range to feel, act, and assess things this way, I guess, why is this programming exist, and what can we do to start breaking that down?
What are you asking, Travis?
I'm asking, why does the programming exist? Why wouldn't we as a human race want to live better mentally and physically with things like cannabis, things like understanding the power of the mind, and dare I say evolve, versus being what we are right now, which is responding with fear to a lot of things we don't know about?
So I think that falls, in line with, I completely lost my thought because I was looking, you just look so like Gina, like the whole time with your hand on your heart. I'm like, I just feel so like connected with you. So I was looking at you and I totally lost my thought.
Okay,
I'm sorry,
I'll
Travis.
say it again. I'll say it again.
It's like, why is there a demonization of, cannabis?
Okay. I think in general, like, think about, how people are conditioned to fall into like boxes.
Right.
How, and I mean, bring it like, let's bring it down to women,
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, or little girls, like me as an adult, and I'm thinking back, like, did you fall into everything that you truly felt like you wanted to do, or you truly felt like that was your truest you? Or did you actually conform to certain societal norms or certain different conformities that are just in society? So how, as a society, can we get rid of those conforming, like ideas, so that we can be our truest selves? Well, that is embracing diversity and inclusion. That's embracing all these things that have stigmas attached to them and doing the advocacy work. That's finding that space where we can have that community impact and we can have those discussions. And education is power. Education is power. If you can educate yourself on different cultures and different diversity, or different, we're speaking cannabis. So how can we as a society embrace to not conform to those norms? Well, we need to actually educate ourselves to understand what is best for us, what is best for our society, and then pioneer for differences. Same thing, everybody's got to eat. So how do we make it better for ourselves, but also the next person with us? Because everybody has a journey, and we are all connected in some way. And you are going to relate to somebody, regardless if you even have any sort of synergy in your past. You relate to somebody. So we need to do better about diversity, and we need to do better about just loving everybody, and making sure that everybody is able to speak their truth and be their truest authentic selves. And whatever norms that we have, well, that's why we're silencing stigmas and breaking them, because stigmas are attached to generational conformity. Gina?
Okay, but I'm like coming out of my seat. I'm like, oh God, where do I want to go? This is a big one, Travis. Like, this is my passion, because so there's so much I have to say here, is that society and the patriarchy, they don't want us to change. They don't want us to know about the conditioning and program that keeps us here, right? Because then we're watching the commercials that tell us that we need to buy all the things to fix us, that we're not whole until we purchase all of those things. And that includes the medical system, right? And buy all those prescriptions and feed into all of that. Because then when we do that, we're not living, like Nick is saying, in our core truth and our core power. We don't have our autonomy because we're attached to fulfilling ourselves outside of ourselves, right? So we're not taught that this conditioning and programming is actually what is creating our results right now, right? And this is why people can't create sustainable change, because of this conditioning and programming. So if you want to go out there and do the new thing in the weight loss, I always use the weight loss because it's the most relatable one. And there's a million diets out there, right? Here's the newsflash: every single one of them works. It's that you have to do the deep level mindset work to reprogram, recondition your mind to get your nervous system on board with you to create the change, right? And so going back to your actual question of why don't we change this programming, right? I think that was your original question. Because we're not taught. That's why going back to having a million coaches is the key, is the answer. Having people like us, all of us on this call, breaking the societal norms, having the conversations, like Nick says, to piggyback off of it, exactly, F the stigma. Nick said education is power. I'm going to take it a step further for you, right? Because if you have the education, you do nothing, that's not power. It's the education that you're being fed, and then do something with it, like you guys are doing.
Mike, you weren't kidding. I mean, this has just been a deluge of wow.
Yeah.
And for me too, like, just like Nicole's journey, like mine was, very similar, where, the VA literally was like, here's a medication for your back, here's a medication for your muscles, here's a medication so you can go to sleep, here's a medication so you can be awake during the day, and here's a medication for this. And it was like, literally, like, it was just bottles and bottles and bottles of meds, to the point where, like, it literally, like, killed me, and then, to come back, from that, and, like, to find, a plant over a pill, the choice was simple for me. And, to be able to, to use cannabis, to be able to get through those nights and the night terrors and things like that is like it's so much better and easier for me than taking an Ambien and not knowing what the hell's going to happen. And like it's just it's crazy, like you said, that because these pills come from a pharmacy and are supported by these drug companies, that's okay. But marijuana, because they didn't tax it properly back in the 1930s, and because they demonized it in the 60s and 70s, we are now living with the repercussions of that. And people think it's the big bad gateway drug, when really everything's shown that legalization of it has brought the numbers down, and like kids trying it, it's brought the numbers down of people misusing it. And so as long as we can continue to talk to people about safe consumption of it, we can give anybody a second chance and a way to work on their life in a safe manner, instead of putting these pills that it's literally Russian roulette.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, ladies, we have 10 minutes left. I mean, this hour went like this, which is fantastic. So, I'm gonna flip a coin here. Nicole, how can people connect with your organization, your business, and what you do, or the floor is yours, and just talk about your experience being in this role that you're in now.
Absolutely. So I'm just gonna shout out. A lot of my team is watching, and they're in the comments. So actually, one of my team members, Kitha, she posted my LinkedIn. So you guys can connect with me on LinkedIn. So thank you, ladies. I appreciate all you guys. They're sitting there cheering me on. So and it's that support in the veteran community, but also in the cannabis industry, that I've really found a lot of synergy between them. Like I said, I'm exactly where I feel like I want to be in my life. I am the cannabis veteran advocate for the industry, and I'm a woman leader in the industry. So I'm able to utilize my voice in ways that really impacts the community, but in ways that I could have never dreamed of. I have right now, as we're building, Cannabis management and also House of Ambassador, it is really humbling to be able to sit back and look at my achievements and be proud of myself. And it has taken being able to have that support of and being surrounded by the people that truly want to see your best interest. In the cannabis industry, we are able to bring people together, and we're able to connect people for business, but also for, impacting the community. And so being able to have that role where I am able to use my voice for change. I am able to use my voice for my own personal empowerment, because I don't know if anybody else um, own your truth and speak your story, because it heals you. So bringing it all the way back to, if you hold it in, it makes you sick. Well, I'm a living example of that. Own your truth, speak your story, use your voice. And for coming from a generation of veterans where we were not able to own our truth or to speak about PTSD, it was a big no-no, or else you weren't able to be with your brothers and sisters. You weren't able to be on mission. So we all just hid it. And then most of us turned to some sort of substances, instead of we could have had better support and safer access to things that would help us. So pioneering for safe access, being able to silence stigmas, and not only the veteran, but the cannabis community, is probably one of the most empowering careers that I've been able. It is my career path has become fulfilling for me, as I feel like I am fulfilling as utilizing my voice.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing that. in that manner. It really is impactful. Gina, you've worked with both Nicole and Mike. You've worked with other people, seeing them rebuild themselves. How can people connect with you? And any closing thoughts, please? The floor is yours.
Thanks. So, again, thanks for having me. Super passionate to talk about all of this and breaking the norms and societal norms and patriarchy and all of that. There is a couple things I want to share. You can find me on social media. I think Travis, you put it in there, and is that making you your number one priority, because we're not raised and conditioned and programmed to know that that's okay. We think that it's selfish. And it's the whole analogy of being on a plane and the mask coming down. You have to put the mask on yourself first before you can take care of someone else. But you're conditioned and programmed to nurture and take care of other people, and that's why you become a people pleaser, right? And so making you your number one priority, meaning your mental health, your health of what you're putting in your body, how you're moving your body, all of those things, making yourself your number one priority. And there's two other things that I want to share, bringing it back to the top of the hour when you're talking about Tony Robbins and how it's $3.99 for this and $3.99 for that. And right, yes, you are your most number one priority. Invest in yourself. I invite you to invest in yourself and your well-being. And I add, there are also many free tools out there. I have a free tool that I can share on reprogramming your mind to build your self-confidence. There's way to regulate your nervous system to bring calm in, because when you're in a constant state of stress, you break down your immune system and your mental well-being, right? So just breathing exercises. I'm a breathing certified coach. I can help you with breathing, but there's free breathing apps and free breathing on YouTube. Do some breathing, and that will bring calm and safety into your body. And then the last thing I want to wrap up with, which is so important, is that it's not about, when I'm talking about using empowering words to support your body, it's not about being toxic positivity and bypassing the shit when it happens, right? Because everyone has shit. It's all about the way that we process it, and really teaching everyone out there that it's okay to have all of the emotions, because you are a spiritual being having a human experience, right? And so we're meant to emote. So it's about getting these emotions through our body in a healthy way. So what does that mean? When you're angry, go to a rage room and beat the shit out of something. Bang a noodle on the ground, like one of those pool noodles. Punch a pillow, scream. I'm not even joking. I teach people how to scream in the right way so that you don't hurt your vocals, so that you're releasing the emotions. If you're sad, go lock yourself in a room, close the door. If you're embarrassed, you don't want somebody to see you cry, put on a sad song and cry. Sing and dance and move your body, tap your body. EFT, Google EFT. I'm certified in EFT. It's emotional frequency technology. Tapping is a free thing that you can do to move these energies through your body. So there's free things out there. That's what I want people to know. There are many tools out there for you to take care of your mind, your body, and your soul in a holistic way.
Mike, you want to close us out? I mean, you put this together, and it's been great meeting, Gina and Nicole.
And like Gina just mentioned, there are a lot of resources out there that are available. If you go to Travis just shared ptsd.va.gov/mobile, they have the PTSD coach, the CPT coach. You've got ways to quit tobacco. You've got anger management. You've got the PTSD family coach, where I teach family members how to work with you and know what's happening to you when things happen. And then my favorite one is the mindfulness coach, and like it's not even veteran specific. Like you can go on and download this. Anybody can. And just go on it, and it's got the white noise. It's got the grounding ways. Go out there and get yourself back to where you need to be. And like we always carry around these little cards that like have the QR codes, so people can just download them and like see what the app's like. And that's literally one of the apps that like I use probably every other day, if not daily. So awesome. I thank you both for joining us tonight. It's been
thank you for having me.
And, sharing your stories. Yeah. I appreciate the openness to do that, and that you guys were willing to share tonight with our audience.
Hey, it's just getting better and better, ladies and gentlemen, as Michael and I do W.A.R. We are resilient. Again, Michael Geary is, Army National Guard veteran who served our country. I'm a Marine Corps veteran, and we both came together to do war, and we are resilient, and really to give any stigma the finger and say, hey, we are here for you. Gina and Nicole, thank you so much for coming out tonight. Uh, Mike didn't even tell me all that was going to happen, and this has just been amazing. And hopefully, you all have gotten some good things out of this. So, last question. Would you all consider coming back on?
Love to.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
All right. So we're going to end it there, ladies and gentlemen. This hour goes quickly. We are resilient. We are WAR. You all have a good weekend and take care.
Have a good night.